Good afternoon, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be reading from Asian American, and Pacific Islander authors in celebration of May being AAPI Heritage Month. That was a mouthful. You may or may not be able to tell that I'm in a little bit of a different setting today, and that is because I'm actually dog sitting my best friend's dog for the week. And if you can hear some sniffing or some click-clacking of toenails, that's because she is in the room over to my left here. But anyway, let me show you the books that we're going to be reading this week. The first book that I have is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This one has been compared a lot to Mulan. It's following a girl who is disguising herself as her brother in order to get into a monastery and become a monk. I believe there's also going to be some fighting down the line based on the cover, so that is probably where the Mulan comparison comes in as well. I am about 70 pages into this book so far because I actually went and got my nails done yesterday and I didn't make myself an appointment because it was a little bit of a spur of the moment decision, so I ended up having to wait 2 hours for my appointment, so I was able to get some good reading in. The next book that I have is The Majesties by Tiffany Tsao. I am not sure how to say that, but I will certainly look it up before the next time I update you on this book. This one follows a very rich and powerful family, and at the opening of this book, we actually meet our main character in the hospital as she has survived a mass murder orchestrated by her sister. From there, we kind of dive into the backstory of this family and everything leading up to this incident, kind of as a way for our main character to unpack everything that happened. I am not very deep into this book yet. I am about 3 chapters in, but I'm really enjoying the writing so far, and the whole plot line is very fascinating to me. So I have really high hopes for this one, as well as the last one I just mentioned. And then the final book that I have picked out for this video is Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn. This book is really fascinating. I am, again, like 3 chapters into this book. I tried to do a lot of reading yesterday to kind of get myself ahead of the curve. We are following our main character, Nainoa, as he is really having a chosen one type of life. This book begins all the way at his conception when the ghosts of his ancestors appear on the ridge while his parents are, And so far, we are just following him throughout his life as a lot of strange things begin happening to him that makes it seem like he has some type of gift or powers or blessing from the ancient Hawaiian gods. So yeah, I really think I chose some winners for this video. I'm really excited to read all of these. As you can see, I have a very yellow-orange theme for this video. But yeah, I will check in with you guys when we do something interesting, you know what I mean? See you then. Good morning, guys. I have a really quick reading update for you on She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I'm about 25% of the way through this book, and our main character, Zhu, has just gone to join the military in another region of the country in order to fight the rebels. So I guess if we were to put this in terms of Mulan, we're at the a girl worth fighting for number portion of the story. I am really enjoying having Zhu as a main character in this book. She's a very scrappy main character, and she has a very strong will to survive, which makes for a very interesting and somewhat morally gray character because all of her decisions are based on survival and carving out the best possible life that she can for herself. So not all of her decisions are super great, but it still forms a character that you have a lot of empathy for because everyone understands wanting to live. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's actually going to be a little bit hard to get reading done today because I planned a surprise date for my husband. He doesn't know where we're going, but I will tell you in advance. We're going to be going to the beach and to the botanical gardens and also to a bakery that specializes in donuts because Ali loves nothing more than a good donut. So I think it's going to be really fun. Hopefully I can get some reading done on the beach. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I'll bring you along a little bit, film some clips for you, and I will see you later. It has been an embarrassingly long time since the last time that I filmed a clip for this video. I have had a pretty significant life change in the past few weeks that kind of prevented me from being able to have a lot of time to read or film, and that is that I actually got a new job. For the first couple of weeks, I was in training and learning everything about the job and all that kind of thing, and then for the past week, I have finally been flying solo for the first time, and learning a new job is just really exhausting, both mentally and physically, and I just have not had the energy to read when I come home, or if I do, I just will put on an audiobook. I really considered scrapping this video because obviously AAPI month has come and gone by this point, and this was supposed to be a video celebrating AAPI month, and if it's over, is there really any point in continuing on with the video? But I really enjoyed all of the content that I had filmed for this video so far, and I really am enjoying reading the books that I had picked out for this video. I just decided to keep on going with it, and even though it's not AAPI month anymore, there's no bad time to read and celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander authors, and it's something that we should be reading all year round anyway. So I hope you don't mind that I'm putting this video up anyway, just significantly later than I wanted to. And yeah, I hope you understand, and I didn't want to put anything up that was like half-assed, so I'm gonna keep filming. I'm sorry that this video isn't coming up at the time that I wanted it, but hopefully you'll still enjoy it. So that being said, let me give you what little reading update I do have. I am still working my way through She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I'm about 240 pages into it right now, and there are about 400 pages in this book, so I have about 160 left to go, so not doing too bad. Everything that I said about this book before still holds true. I'm probably going to wait until I'm a little further to give you more of an update on what's going on and how I'm feeling about this book. So that is the update on this one. And the other update that I have is that I was able to finish The Majesties by Tiffany Tsao because I listened to it on audiobook. I was able to find it through Script, so I listened to it on there, and I was able to finish it a couple of days ago. My thoughts on this one are pretty mixed. The first 20% of this book, I was super engaged and invested in the story. In this one, we are following our main character, Gwendolyn, as she is the sole survivor of a mass killing enacted by her sister. Her sister, for reasons that we are exploring throughout this story, has a very troubled relationship with the members of her family, and at a party that includes a lot of her extended family, cousins, aunts, nephews, etc., she ends up poisoning the shark fin soup and killing, I think, over 400 members of her own family, and the only survivor of this incident is Gwendolyn, her sister. So we're following Gwendolyn as she is in a coma and only somewhat conscious of what has happened. Internally, she is really thinking through and exploring everything in the years leading up to this incident and what might have motivated her sister to do this. There's a lot of exploration of the family and their morals and kind of the ways that they treat every family member as a pawn for the greater good of the family instead of an individual person with individual needs. And one of my favorite parts of the entire story, and the reason that I ended up picking this one up in the first place, is the description of Bagatelle, which is Gwendolyn's offshoot of the family company. She is running a fashion brand where her scientists are using chemicals to bend the minds of insects and transform these insects with like proper care and the right amount of drugs into being fashion pieces and accessories, and they're being seen on the runway, and it's so interesting, such a unique concept. And I've never really read a book that deals with wealth and fashion brands to the level that this book explores it, and I thought that was such a cool part of this book that was just not fleshed out as much as I wanted it to be, and wasn't explored as deeply as I wanted to explore it. After the first 20% of this book, though, it definitely went downhill for me. The next, I would say 70% of this book is a lot of very rambling, disconnected backstory. We would be following Gwendolyn's train of thought down one path, and then it felt like she would go down all these different rabbit holes to different stories that felt very disjointed and disconnected. And for a while, I felt that this might have been an intentional choice by the author, because Gwendolyn is in a coma. She's not really in her right state of mind, and so all these different offshoots of the story could have been trying to bring the reader into kind of the mindset of Gwendolyn and how disjointed her life is feeling at this time. At some point, it feels like it's just trying to stuff in too much information without really understanding why that information is pertinent. And you kind of trust the author that eventually this will all lead to really understanding our characters and their motives. It just felt like it was a lot of miscellaneous content that really was unconnected from the central story. It almost felt like being in the head of like a dementia patient who has all these pieces of their lives but no way to connect them in an order that makes sense. And I don't know, maybe that was an intentional choice on the author's part. For me, it just did not work, and it felt kind of like a mind trip. Then, in the last 10% of this book, there is a plot twist that happens that I absolutely did not enjoy at all, which took this book from very much being well established in the literary fiction genre to almost trying to be a thriller novel. And I really did not like it. The ending of this book made absolutely no sense to me. I think it did absolutely nothing for the story. It did nothing for the closure for the reader. It felt very, very out of place in this novel. Overall, the first 20% I would have given a 4.5 star. The middle 70% I would have given a 3 star. And the last 10% I would have given a 1 star. I think I ended up giving this book a 2 star. As you can see, the ending had a really, really strong impact on this book for me. It's not often that I read a book, feel meh about it, get to the ending, and drop the rating by an entire star just for the ending. But that's what happened with this book. A really strong concept, a not so strong execution, and a conclusion that just completely wrecked this book for me. I'm glad to be back filming this video, and I will hopefully have another reading update for you soon. Hello! I am back with a reading update for Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kavai Strong Washburn. I finished this book yesterday and I do have some initial thoughts on it, even though I do kind of feel like I'll have even more thoughts or more like concise thoughts about this book as time goes on and as I sit on it and as I contemplate everything that just happened in this book, which was a lot because this book really packs quite a punch. But I'll share with you my thoughts so far and kind of my internal struggle on some pieces of this book. I was kind of going back and forth on whether to give it 3 stars or 4 stars, but I think I've settled on giving it 4 stars because looking at the books that I've rated 3 stars this year, I feel like I enjoyed this book more than I enjoyed those books. I went into this book expecting there to be a lot more magical realism, especially based on what the description of the book said and how much it focused its attention on like the blessing of the Hawaiian gods and things like that. And the reality is this book is much more close to like a literary fiction novel than it is to like a speculative novel, in my opinion. It focuses a lot on family dynamics, on concepts like poverty and colonization and being indigenous and that experience. There's a lot of discussion of what it's like to grow up in a family where there is a preferred sibling or a chosen sibling or a gifted sibling and the burden that that places on the other siblings and the lack of attention that they feel and things like that. I think this author really wanted to include magical realism in his narrative while also having a very raw portrayal of all the struggles of reality. And I think he did a really great job. I think the pain and the grief and the struggles portrayed in this book are very visceral. I feel like I felt grief and stress reading this book. So that's always great and always the goal, to make your readers really feel what your characters are going through. My only real critique is that I wanted the magic to be explored more, and because of the nature of this book and where the plot went, we couldn't explore the magic as deeply as I wanted to. So yeah, this is a really great book. If it sounds interesting to you, I would definitely recommend you pick it up. I think it's a debut novel, which is really astounding if that's true. It is. I'm really excited to see what else this author comes out with and to see his growth over the course of his career, because I think this was amazing for a first novel. I hope this book gains some more attention because I think it definitely deserves it, and this author has a very unique voice and a very unique perspective as well, being Native Hawaiian. So yeah, I hope I hear more from this author soon. Hello, I am back with the final reading update of this video, which is that I finished She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. Ironically, this book took me the longest to read and was also my favorite, which is an interesting dichotomy. I'm giving this book 5 stars. I absolutely love this one, and I did not know that this was actually in a series, so I'm really excited for the next installment to come out now. Like I mentioned before, this book follows a girl who assumes her brother's identity upon his death, and with his identity, a prediction from a fortune teller that he would achieve greatness in his life. From there, we follow our main character Zhu as she goes and becomes a monk, and then as she escapes her burning monastery to go and fight for the rebels against the Mongolian rulers. Over the course of this book, we're really watching Zhu as she rises to power, as she becomes a commander in the army, as she uses her cleverness to overcome a lot of different obstacles, as she makes political decisions and alliances and betrayals and double crossings. And we're really watching her on her journey to achieve her brother's stolen greatness, and ultimately watching her become completely corrupted. I've mentioned this before, but I love reading books that have unlikable characters, and it was a really interesting journey for me to watch our main character Zhu go from someone who was very mischievous and valued her own life very highly and was a very empathetic character to being someone completely corrupted by her own power and very greedy and very bloodthirsty. And I absolutely loved it, even though I think a lot of people might find issue with the author's choices to go in this direction. And I think it reflects reality. It's hard to become a leader with this many followers and have this many successful battles and overcome so many obstacles and not let that go to your head and not attribute that to your own skills. I think a lot of people would be corrupted by that. We see that in our world, and I think it made the most sense logically to see our main character go down that path, and I wonder if we will see her be redeemed in future books or if this is darker path that she's now set on by the events in this book. I'd almost forgotten how much I enjoyed this aspect of like high fantasy and historical fictions that are this wide in scope, is watching the different leaders interact and watching these strategies play out. I think it's so fascinating. So I really especially loved that portion of this book, although there is a lot to love about this book and a lot of good things I can say. But if you have any interest at all in this book, I definitely think it's worth a read. It took me quite a while to get through it, but that's not a testament to anything about this book. I really enjoyed it. I just had outside forces working against me in my life that prevented me from finishing this as quickly as I wanted to. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on this book. I cannot wait for the next installment to come out. I hope it's coming out next year. I'll have to check on Goodreads. Either way, if you stay to the end of this video, thank you so much. If you could take a moment to like this video, subscribe, comment, any and all interactions that you can have with my videos really helps me get them out to the algorithm and help new people find my channel. And I cannot wait to see you in a new video next week. Goodbye.